So we're going to go ahead and begin our morning plenary program. Thank you all for coming here. Thank you for grabbing a seat. Housekeeping notes, so don't mind me. There's decaf coffee in the back. If you found you had too much caffeine but still want something hot to drink, there's decaf stations towards the back. A quick note on safety. Anything can happen. You never know what's going to happen. If there's a fire, we ask you to please exit the building. Don't stay. Please don't try to fight a fire if something breaks out. If there's a tornado, we're going to the stairwell that's near the top shelf, which is the bar that's out here, or the hallway behind the breakout rooms, which means going to where these exit signs are. I'm really hoping there's not a tornado anytime soon. Just be aware, we always want to be prepared for things. Our conference theme this year is Decades of Dedication, and hopefully you've gotten a sense of sort of the longer history of what we've been doing. When you have a monumental challenge, it can take a while to turn things around and see results. We're looking back at some of these long-term programs, like the Citizens Lake Monitoring Network and the Water Action Volunteers, the things that have been in place now for decades. And so please join us in doing that, because we have a timeline. If you're at the art gallery space in the back, you'll notice a big timeline up there. And we want people to add things to the timeline. We realize that we didn't capture quite everything. Maybe things are not even accurate and you want to make a correction. Please let us know. We're also celebrating the people who've been involved for decades. One of the people that I'm working with tomorrow afternoon started working with the federal EPA over 50 years ago, and he's still around and still helping take care of lakes. So we have some long timers here. We also have first timers. We have over 125 people who are here for the very first time, and we always are trying to reach our new audiences and welcome them to the partnership. So thank you for all the first timers and people coming here for the first time. I hope you return, and I hope you bring other people. We always try to grow this event as well. One of the ways we've grown this event over time, some of you might remember 2020, we did not cancel this conference. We weren't here, we were online, and we still maintain a virtual presence. We have people who are online today joining us, so I want to acknowledge them and say hello to our virtual people out there. Thank you for joining us that way. We also have sponsors. This conference doesn't happen without people kicking in a little bit. I mentioned in the Lake District sessions that last night, if you were here for the welcome gathering, we had beer free. You didn't have to buy it. Well, somebody bought it. Thank you to our sponsors. Let's give them a round of applause. We also recognize that we're in Stevens Point. We're in Portage County. We're in the middle of the state, but this is land that's been occupied for a very long time by different people than most of the people in this room. We acknowledge that this land was not fairly acquired when settlers came over, and we have a debt to pay to make things square. Part of that is through our actions, but part of that is through building partnerships and recognizing the people that were here and have been here and still are here. I'm excited in my new role that I get to work with a really cool person who I got to know a couple of years ago. And I want you all to give a warm Wisconsin welcome to President John Greendeer of the Ho-Chunk Nation.
E wo jokini na hichokoro ni wina hanachi ni karigi. E hante hichokoro hara ware hi karashire de waonje. Yeske echoni na Ho-Chunk e ni na woshka honiki da gikshene. Agudeja wako penekate hikaroke hara mangara hanaga ni shanankeja. Yeske ge hante chahi ki karashaonje. Yeske ge hoke wahire aide shuno chahi karache hikaroke hara mangara ni na hanachekji hinagishawi hira karagikja waonje. Did you guys get that? So what you heard was a language that could be only heard thousands and thousands of years ago. Now, language does change over the course of time, and it changes in every aspect, even the English language. Like there are things that I'm not even allowed to say, like skibbity and bussing and things like that. My daughters will correct me. But over the course of time, the language, the root of those language really is indicative of a culture. So what I did was offer a small greeting, letting you know that my friend had asked me to share a little bit. Our Ho-Chunk people, as you could see from that coffee stain map, that is absolutely inaccurate. And it always will be, because everything, once you put it on paper, becomes enveloped in time. So that was post immigration of northern tribes and doesn't reflect the Aboriginal territory. Now, one of my buddies always said, I said, if you ever want to confuse white people, take the clocks off the wall, take their phones away, take all these things away, because they forgot how to think. They forgot how to think from what our nature tells us. And it would be really small of me to say that water is life and it means so much, because it really does. It's universal. As a matter of fact, where we are, not just in Stevens Point, which has a lot of history, Wood County all the way to Portage County had over 400 burial mounds on the side of the Wisconsin River. And there's a lot of historical areas, such as any place that you saw some of our factories like New Page and our university as well. And so Stora Enso was another place of a elaborate village site that was built around the confluences and the tributaries, the trail systems that were here. For us, they're still there. They are still, they may be beneath our feet, but they still tell us a lot of stories. And we still learn today from our water systems. Like there's a lot of people that are learning about the purpose of flood zones and riparian districts that probably now didn't realize that those were natural aquifers that were built up, and they also good food sources in places where our people used to come down just north of 66 in Rapids by 34 and actually set up a lot of camps there and netted a lot of fish and smoked a lot of fish and had a spring way of life out there. So given that, we've seen a lot of changes, especially since the onslaught of European establishment, industrialization, things like that have changed the landscape. Because if you change the water, you change the land, you change the air, you change the habitat. And we're starting to realize that these changes that have taken place have really been deleterious to not only our own world today, but also civilizations and cultures long ago. Our sturgeon, which are now swimming on Highway 54 in Shiocton, mercilessly and at our own behest, when we dam those rivers, such as in Jordan Pond and Big Bull Falls, what we're doing is we're trying to change history to contour to our own convenience and likeness. And, it isn't just that, it's industrialization as well. And, we probably owe a big hand for industrialization and multinational mining companies to create all the jobs that I'm looking at here in this room. Because now we've had to learn a little bit more about water systems, hydrology, total petroleum, hydrocarbons, PFAS, which is being created and shutting down towns, aquifers, and drinking systems. And we're starting to realize that in its most basic form, no matter how busy we are each and every one of our days, that it comes down to food, water, shelter, and 5G. Something like that, like high-speed internet. We need that, right? There's the new survival element of the world. So we got to fuel our external organs. So there's a lot that can be said, but given the fact that this industry that has come out is really overlaying a natural system. Our grandmother, in my way of life, one of the things I let you know, our grandmother, our earth, we are, our dear clan are to protect our mother earth, our grandmother earth, and make sure that those things are going to be there for the next 7 generations or so. For if that was not the living thought, we wouldn't be here today. Our Ho-Chunk people have been here since time immemorial, which could be the last ice age. And the language that you heard, That doesn't morph very much. We don't add new words to this. We use words that we're describing, and we talked about the sturgeon coming up. If we could hear the drums at this time on the Menominee territories where they were doing sturgeon ceremonies. Our ceremony started when we started damming the river. Those fish stopped coming up the Fox and the Wolf River. They stopped coming up the Wisconsin River. They started changing the course of their action, and in doing so, we lost culture, we lost songs, stories, humor, a fundamental belief, kinships, and that was all wrapped in the water system that we have here today. So the work that you guys, each of you do, is very important to the sustenance and to the 7 generations that we are sworn to protect this grandmother for. Hidajiwi, hinagigiwi, deskege, wayanam jiwahaje. Thank you, everyone.
And I want to give, again, thank you to President Green here, but also give you all a charge to get to know the tribal communities that are among your lakes. They are out there and they want to talk to you. They want to hear from you. They want to share stories with you. I'm very excited the way that the folks with the Clean Lakes Alliance in Dane County have been building bridges, and it takes time. Don't expect things to happen too quickly, but there will be deep connections that you make with these tribal communities. So please do that. And tomorrow, if you're joining us for lunch, we're also going to pay respect to a gatherer, a Mole Lake community member who's gathered wild rice for us, basically, to share with us. And we're going to be having that as part of our lunch. So we'll hear his story tomorrow. It is really cool that President Greendeer mentioned language and how language changes over time. Our theme, as I mentioned, is decades of dedication. Some of us have been doing this for many decades. Some of us have been doing this for 5, 6 decades. Some people maybe have a lasting legacy that goes on many, many decades, maybe 50 decades. Let's go back. So I'm inviting you for this next series of presentations to go back in time, to come to the present, and then look to the future. So please enjoy this ride. Please hold your applause till the end, because we're on a time frame that we got to stick to. But please enjoy this. And I'm going to start it by introducing Isaac Walton.
Good friends, I am a plain man, once a seller of linen, and ever a lover of quiet streams, who found more wisdom in a meadow than in many a crowded street. If you seek in me a philosopher, you shall be disappointed. Yet, if you will accept an angler who has learned patience from trout and contentment from running water, I am your servant. I have long held that a calm mind and a clean river are companions, and that both are more easily troubled than restored. And though your age moves swifter than mine ever dreamed, I dare say a rod, a fair brook, and a thankful heart would still mend many of its complaints. I have known a trout to be wiser than the man who sought him, for he will refuse a bait cast into troubled water, though the anglers swear it is the finest in all the parish. And truly, the fish shows better judgment than we, when we muddy our own rivers and then marvel that neither trout nor neighbor care to abide there. For it is a strange folly in us to poison that which must both feed us and quench our thirst, and then complain of Providence for the want of good sport. Let us therefore keep our waters clean, lest the fish grow scarce and laugh at us from some clearer brook where they enjoy better company. Good friends, the river mends not in a day, nor is a lake restored by the zeal of a single season. For waters, like men, recover by degrees, and reward chiefly those who keep faithful watch over them. Be not weary. Therefore, if your labors seem at times as slow as the creeping of a clear current through meadow grass, for that same current, though unhurried, will in years shape stone and nourish generations. It is the patient angler who takes the fairest trout, and so it shall be the patient steward who beholds once more the bright return of fish to waters long troubled. Let your care extend beyond applause or present praise, and fix it rather upon the children of your children, who shall bless you for streams kept sweet before they ever cast a line. Continue steadfast, and time, God's silent partner in all good works, shall prove your constancy wiser than haste.
We can stop harmful substances from entering our water system. We can restore wetlands. We can restore streams. We can restore ecosystems that have been stressed or destroyed by greatly compromised by dams, levees, and drainage systems. We can reduce our use of plastics and ensure that what gets manufactured gets recycled. We can manage an ecosystem to benefit that ecosystem, not to benefit corporations that want to extract profit from that ecosystem. We can block mining in sensitive areas. My name is Will Dilg. One of the first things I did after forming the Izaak Walton League was pledge to Sigurd Olson that we would support the protections of the Boundary Waters canoe area. Looks like we have to do that again. Are you here to join me with that? In the 19-teens, I was an ad man for a liquor company. And along came Prohibition in 1920 and put me out of work. But that's when I discovered my purpose in life. I used my voice, my promotional skills to form the Izaak Walton League of America. In 1922, my only son fell off of our houseboat and drowned. It was a terrible time for my wife and I went into a deep depression, and I wallowed in the bad news, the pollution, the deforestation, all of the attacks that were coming on our glorious ecosystem. You see, I was born in Milwaukee. My adult life was spent in Chicago, but my summers were spent on the Mississippi River. Had a little houseboat by Winona, Minnesota. And boy, there's nothing like being afloat on that Mississippi River. It was my joy, my passion. But you see, in 1923, the War Department issued a permit to drain the Winneshiek Bottoms near Lansing, Iowa. That was one of my favorite fishing spots. The Izaak Walton League rose up and formed a coalition. That's how we got things done back then. Hopefully you're still doing that today. We formed a partnership with the women of America who had just won their right to vote. I forget these modern conveniences have a slideshow. That was my son's grave marker. And you just heard from Izaak Walton, the patron saint of fishing. Now, I've heard that The Complete Angler is the most read book in world history that people weren't forced to read. You'll probably know what other book I'm referring to. And in that book, Izaak Walton not only included how to pursue and catch each fish, he taught you how to prepare it, cook it, enjoy eating it. So I'm not so sure it was just fishermen that bought it. I bet a lot of them were the wives of those fishermen who would say, "What the heck am I going to do with this thing you brought home?" So we named our group the Izaak Walton League after this patron saint of fishing. Well, after the War Department issued that permit, we went to work. Formed that coalition with first I published an article, The Drainage Crime of a Century. You see, it started on the lower river with all those plantations. I don't know if you know this, but 90% of the river's floodplain sits behind 38-foot tall levees. More than 2,000 miles of continuous levees on that lower Mississippi. Well, then in the early 1900s, it had already spread to the upper Mississippi, up as far as Rock Island. If you don't know, that's right across from Davenport. Rock Island, Illinois. Well, we could see that was coming. In fact, I found plans while I was investigating They had already marked off 85% of the floodplain between there and Lake Pepin, Minnesota. But we went to work and we lobbied and we formed a great national preserve. And we could not have done it if we hadn't appealed to the women of America who had just won their right to vote. They were just realizing their potential. And I don't know if you can see, but I just love this ad my friend drew up back then with the women of America represented by the National Federation of Women's Clubs. Look at that sword. That sword says, the ballot. That is the most powerful thing we have as Americans to affect change. And boy, do we need change. So I went to Washington, D.C. to get support for a bill that we introduced to turn that stretch that developers were already buying up as quickly as they could into a national preserve. And the result was our Upper Mississippi River National Wildlife and Fish Refuge. We got that accomplished in less than a year, 11 months, and they said it could not be done. Don't you dare let anybody tell you what can and can't be done. When you come together with a message, you are powerful. Your voices matter. And don't shy away from a debate. Enter right into it. Hold your ground and build those coalitions. I know that's what we have right here in this room, and I am so grateful to be here in front of you. Now, what we accomplished is something that might be a little difficult, you'd think, right now. But we had a common message, a singular purpose. We got our support and we pushed it through. This was the first successful, large-scale grassroots movement in United States history. Now, I know John Muir awakened a national environmental conscience in us, and I recognize Aldo Leopold as the father of our modern conservation movement. He came up with the methods of our movement. But I'm not sure he might have been so successful if I hadn't sold the modern conservation movement to the American people. And that's what I came back to do. I came back to sell the environment, the importance of the environment, the importance of speaking up for the environment, because fish, wildlife, they don't have a voice. You are their voice. Do not back down. Form coalitions. Keep moving forward. In fact, I would love to come to your community and help you with that. This is our land. This is our land, and it is the land of the natives. This is a land of caring, a land of tradition of caring. And we must rise up and care for that. Now, there's one other member of the modern conservation movement that I think you'd like to hear from, but we can't call this one the father of our modern conservation movement. That would not be right. So let's hear from a mother of our conservation movement, Rachel Carson.
require technical skills on a scale undreamed of even a generation ago. We can do dramatic things. We can do them quickly. By the time damaging side effects are apparent, it is often too late or impossible to reverse our actions. If we are ever to solve the basic problem of environmental contamination, we must begin to count the many hidden costs of what we are doing and to weigh them against the gains or advantages.
My name's Marco Machete. For the past 3 years, I've been the board president for the Wisconsin Conservation Hall of Fame. And I'm starting to think I should have been more of an opening act this morning because these are pretty big acts to follow. So thanks a lot, Eric. Although it's actually quite fitting because I'm here today to speak to the past, the present, and the future of the Wisconsin Conservation Hall of Fame. If we could go back actually to just the start of the slides. One forward would be good. Is that this thing? Okay, thank you. So the Wisconsin Conservation Hall of Fame was founded right here in Stevens Point in 1982. And we had our first induction selection and ceremony in 1985. And since then, we have celebrated over 100 inductees into the Hall of Fame. And I'd like to start today by just focusing on the most timely and kind of the most important matters that we have going on, which is our induction ceremony for 2026, which will be taking place this coming Tuesday, April 21st. And it's all online now, virtual. And these are our 3 inductees this year: Bill Lunny, Keith McCaffrey, and Neil Payne. And on the next slide, we've got a code if you want to register for that induction ceremony. So I'll leave that up for a couple of minutes as I speak to what this will look like. But we'd love to have you all join. You can register and you'll receive a link that you can tune into the webinar. And we also record all of the presentations, the ceremonies, so you can view them later on for years to come. We have all the previous ones up on our website as well. The mission of the Wisconsin Conservation Hall of Fame is to celebrate, advance, and share Wisconsin's conservation legacy. So how does an individual end? So we have a process that takes place each year from January through May, where the window is open to submit a nomination. So you can also find the part on our website where you can make those nominations if you have an individual in mind that you'd like to nominate. There might be someone in the room that would make a good case for Will Dilg, I think, after what we just saw. So the nominations are received by our board of directors, and they go through a technical review process whereby we make sure that everything that's been submitted is in line with our procedures. It's quite a robust and time-consuming process to nominate an individual, and that's part of the point because we feel that the Conservation Hall of Fame is the most prestigious conservation award that exists in the state. It's something that individuals generally receive towards the end of their career after they've spent a lifetime working towards conservation, and it's a really big deal. So after the technical review, we have an independent board of governors that we select, and they review the nominations and decide a slate that will move on to the final vote. And then we have between 30 and 40 what we call voting member organizations that ultimately cast the vote and decide who ends up in the Hall of Fame each year. So that window is open through May of this year. So The timing of being here at this convention is terrific, and really appreciate the opportunity to speak here. This is my first Lakes and Rivers convention, so I'm one of the 125 or so that this is their first year. And what a wonderful gathering this is. Really honored to be here representing the Hall of Fame. So the past, present, and future of the Hall of Fame. In 2023, we conducted a survey of our constituents, our donors, supporters, the voting member organizations, variety of different nonprofits and stakeholders in the conservation community around the state. And we asked them, what are we doing well and what could we do better at? And what we heard back was people felt that we were doing really well at celebrating the inductees and honoring the legacy of conservation in the state. They felt we weren't doing so well at being visible, and that a lot of people didn't really know the Hall of Fame even existed in some cases, or they didn't know what it was all about. So again, being able to be here today and speak to all of you is, we're super grateful for that, and I feel like we're inching forward at becoming more visible. So the Hall of Fame is currently located right down the street. Anyone visited the Conservation Hall of Fame? Okay, not bad, but that's kind of the point. We're not reaching as many people as we should be. So coming out of that survey, speaking with our constituents, hearing what they thought, we've begun, and this has been happening for many years already, but we've begun a shift from the physical hall to a more virtual presence whereby we're able to reach a lot more people. We've made a lot of administrative improvements in our processes around inducting individuals in the nomination process, cleaning up old nominations, some of which have been around literally since the 80s and just hanging out there. So we've had to do some cleanup work as we've transitioned from previous leadership to our current system. Our online presence is quite robust. One of the things I'm the proudest of is if you search certain individuals online, for example, search George C. Becker, a champion of obviously fisheries and water conservation in Wisconsin. The first link that'll come up will be his page on the Wisconsin Conservation Hall of Fame. So we have write-ups, we have pictures, videos, and all kinds of information for each inductee. And it's actually a quite fun way to spend a cold or a rainy Wisconsin evening. I've spent many evenings just looking through the inductees and reading these stories, seeing where they came from, realizing that they've touched and impacted places that I've spent my life enjoying, like the Mackenzie Center or Horicon Marsh or places around Point. So it's a great repository of historical information and celebration of these individuals and in some case couples that have made great strides for conservation in our state. So currently we have one Hall of Fame, and it's here in Point at Schmeekley Reserve in the back of the Visitor Center. And over the last several years, for many reasons, including the visibility problem I've already mentioned, we've begun a process of finding new homes for those inductee plaques. And this will be something we're going to be speaking about more in the coming weeks and months. You might be reading about it and hearing more about it, but we're in the process of finding new homes for the individual plaques so that instead of being housed in one place, which is exciting, but it doesn't get a ton of visitorship, we could be spread out all over the state in different environmental centers, visitor centers, universities, and things like that, so that we can reach a lot more people that are already visiting all of those places. And through that process, we may go from having this kind of a physical impact around the state to more like that, where we're all over and people are seeing us in northern Wisconsin, southern Wisconsin, central, all over the place. That's our vision. And these plaques would be placed in places where certain individuals have had an especially profound impact or have really deep roots. And so then that organization can celebrate the individual as well and raise more awareness and tell those stories. And we've begun the process of this already, and it's going really, really well. I'm very excited about the direction it's taking. So that takes us into what's the future of the Hall of Fame. Well, a lot of it is yet to be written. It's been a really enjoyable few years that I've had on the Hall of Fame board, and we are certainly looking for help, other leaders and other board members, partnerships. We're interested in exploring all of those opportunities. So we'd love if there's people in the room, if you're interested in history, interested in legacy, interested in storytelling and sharing the work of those that have come before us with the hopes of inspiring the next generation. We would love to visit with you and have you on board to help us carry this thing into the future. If you want to learn more, visit us online. It's wchf.org, or just search Wisconsin Conservation Hall of Fame, and we're out there and growing our presence online, which, you know, I know we need the physical stuff too, but we've found for our purposes, the direction we're going in really seems to be working, and we're reaching more people. We even have people tune in from overseas to our induction ceremony. So we're happy with the direction things are going in. I will be sticking around very briefly this morning. If you want to come by and say hi, I'd love to visit with you and hear more about your story. And thank you for having me here today. Yeah, thanks. And next, we are moving forward from the past and the present into the future. Our friends at the Wisconsin Land and Water Organization in Madison hold an annual conference similar to the Lakes and Rivers Convention with land and water staff and county officials. Each year, they challenge middle school and high school students across Wisconsin to prepare conservation awareness speeches and to compete with the county and regional levels. The final competition takes place at their big convention and gives the students a large audience to share their research message. I am pleased to introduce a highly regarded competitor in the State Conservation Awareness Speaking Contest. Hailing from Lodi Middle School in Columbia County, she placed first statewide in the 2025 contest and second place this spring in her regional competition. Please join me in giving a warm Wisconsin Lakes and Rivers welcome to Adeline Howe and her speech titled Microplastics, Tiny Pieces, Big Problems.
Microplastics. Tiny pieces, big problems. Have you ever stepped on a tiny Lego piece and wondered how something so small could hurt so much? Well, microplastics are kind of like that. Only instead of hurting our feet, they cause huge problems for the environment. Microplastics are tiny pieces of plastic smaller than 5 millimeters, about the size of a sesame seed. According to the Environmental Literacy Council, these small pieces come from bigger plastics breaking down or from small plastics that were made on purpose, like the microbeads that used to be in face washes. They can come from clothes made from synthetic fibers, tire, or plastic trash that breaks into smaller and smaller bits. Once they form, they spread everywhere. Oceans, rivers, and even the air. Basically, they're the glitter of the pollution world. The United States Geological Survey reports that 100% of the 29 Great Lakes tributaries that were tested have microplastics in them. Once they're out, good luck getting rid of them. One major problem is that animals mistake microplastics for food. According to Fauna and Flora International, animals like fish, seabirds, and plankton often swallow microplastics without even realizing it. This can block their stomachs or make them feel full, even when they didn't get any real nutrients. Some microplastics even have sharp edges that can hurt the insides. And the problem doesn't stop there. When small animals eat plastics, the bigger animals eat them. So the microplastics move up the food chain. According to the USGS, ingested microplastics not only can cause digestive problems, but hormone and reproductive problems as well as death. Microplastics can carry chemicals. The Institute for Environmental Research and Education explains that these plastics can absorb dangerous chemicals from the water, like heavy metals or pollutants, such as BPA. When animals eat microplastics, they also take in those chemicals. Imagine a fish swimming along, living its life, and eating what looks like a tiny microplankton. Only it's plastic with poison on it. Not exactly a tasty snack. Don't swipe that off the buffet table. NOAA reports that microplastics aren't only in the water, they're in the air too. This means that we can breathe them in or swallow them through food or water. Scientists are still learning about the long-term effects on humans. But this is basically the scientific way of saying, yeah, this is not good. And even add nutrients back into the soil. Nature loves a good snack. Be aware that washing clothes made from synthetic materials releases microplastic fibers into the water. Using filters on washing machines can help prevent this. Supporting laws that limit harmful plastics and spreading microplastic awareness also make a big difference. And if you love glitter, you can always choose. Their effects are definitely not. They sneak into oceans, air, and rivers like they're trying to win most annoying particle of the year. But the good news is we don't have to let them win. By using fewer plastics and paying attention to our choices, we can help reduce the amount that ends up in our environment. Together, in Wisconsin, we can help reduce the amount that ends up in our environment. Fighting microplastics one troublemaker at a time.
Thank you, Adeline. Wow, and now we have to stand up here after that. Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah Winju. I'm the Leadership and Capacity Development Specialist with Extension Lakes, and I'm joined here with Susan Trier with Wisconsin Lakes. We wanted to take a moment to recognize the Wisconsin Lakes and Rivers Partnership. This convention is brought to you by the Wisconsin Lakes and Rivers Partnership, hosted by these organizations. With more than 15,000 lakes in our state, Wisconsin has an incredible team working for the continued well-being, and no one entity can do it alone. The Wisconsin Lakes and Rivers Partnership joins science, education, and communities, all of you, to empower people to work together to care for our lakes and rivers. The partnership is currently facilitated by 3 core groups: the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources, which supplies funding through surface water grants, technical expertise, and regulatory authority; Extension Lakes here at UW-Stevens Point, which provides educational materials, training, support, and guidance to lake organizations, volunteers, and the public; and Wisconsin Lakes, our statewide nonprofit advocacy lake organization. This multifaceted effort reaches far beyond these core groups to include regional, county, tribal, nonprofit, and federal partners. I'd now like to introduce Susan Trier, who is the current president of Wisconsin Lakes.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you very much. And just in the interest of time, I think Sarah did a really nice job introducing Wisconsin Lakes. We appreciate it. We are an organization that seeks to develop statewide solutions and for the challenges that face our lakes, but while preserving the ability to have strong local protection. And we speak for the lakes down with our lawmakers and our various state agencies. But what we'd like to do now is to recognize all of those who've given so much of their heart, skills, and resources to protect the waters of Wisconsin. And that's all of us. So if you're able, will you please stand up? Up! Yeah, this is a good stretch, right? Okay, so now we'd like to find those amongst us who've been doing this the longest time. We're not going to be in the Hall of Fame yet, but maybe we will. And I'm sure you've done this before. So if you've been dedicated to your effort for about the last 5 years, please sit down and thank you so much for your service. Nice, nice. So, wow, quite a full room. How many of you, if you've done 10 years and less, go ahead and sit down? Wow, excellent. All right. How about 20? How about 20? Wow, that's still a lot more than 5. Excellent, wonderful. How about 25 years? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe. The lights are just incredibly bright. I can't tell. Eric, is it about 5? Oh my gosh. All right. 30 years. Oh, wow. That was a big hit. So who's left out there beyond these bright lights? Do we have how many, Eric? How many out there? So 32. All right. Well, we want to thank you for your tenacity. I can't see. There's those like bug lights right in my face. Anyone else out there? Woo! 35. Okay. So when I was thinking of 45, are you in an orange shirt? That's almost as long as we've had lake districts. Okay, I want to thank you. We all want to thank you for your tenacity and dedication, conviction and generosity. And thank you for showing us the way. So let's give them one more round of applause. And I hope to see everybody back here next year. Thank you.
That was fun. Thank you for participating. We will bring up the slideshow and we want to recognize our Pictionary winners from last night. I think we have a photo of them here. Are they in the room? Smarter than a goldfish? Stand up if you are. Congratulations. They won Pictionary, competed against some other teams, and we had a lot of fun last night at the welcome reception. So look forward to it again next year and join a team. I want to provide a few reminders before we break for our next session. First, we do have an interactive networking bingo game that we'd like you to participate in. If you haven't picked up a bingo card already, you can grab one from where you got your name badge. And there are prizes available if you do get a bingo. Once you get a bingo, bring it back to the Extension Lakes registration area and we'll enter you into that prize drawing. We will do one today and a prize drawing tomorrow as well. It's a lot of fun. Eric did mention the timeline activity. We do encourage you to participate in this collaborative opportunity for you to share your dedication to lakes and rivers across Wisconsin, whether your dedication has been decades or only a few weeks. We want to acknowledge all of the actions that have been taken to protect water and those that have reversed the damage done. From local groups stepping up to coordinate restoration efforts to statewide actions to protect future disturbances, thank you for your work. Please make sure your actions are represented on this timeline by writing your contributions and your plans for the future on the Post-it notes I don't know if there's any on the tables, but we do have them back by the timeline. Banquet registration, we do still have some tickets available for the awards banquet tonight. If you haven't purchased your banquet ticket yet, if you don't have a ticket in the back of your name tag, and you'd like to join us, head out to the registration table and you can still add that onto your registration. We'd love to see you tonight as we celebrate our stewardship award winners. Next session starts at 10:10. And then we'll see you back in here at this room at noon. Please eat the muffins on the table. Thank you.